Joyful day, beautiful beings, and joy for all things, beautiful hearts. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Story Hearts Talk podcast. This is a place where we remind superlative beings that they are already the person that they're looking for. We use the don't key, and the don't key is to disrupt outdated narratives daily. And the narrative that we are going to disrupt, we are going to use what's going on inside my community. Today is January 19th, and so in my community, that means the Martin Luther King Parade. They also have the Martin Luther King Parade across the bridge over in Tampa. And so instead of just celebrating the dream, I've been sitting here with a deeper question because I've learned that deep thinking, the world doesn't really slow down to allow us to do. And it's very essential to how we're processing. So we just don't process from default mode and what do you call that? Automated. It's not the word I'm looking for, but we're going to go with it. And so you just don't do it. And so Martin Luther King, which we might as well talk about MLK because it's January 19th, and today we were celebrating this historic figure inside of our world, our fight for justice, our equality. And in doing that, we are going to go over some of the things that I was thinking. This is really a topic that I could find myself crying about because it really has changed how I see life. And so it is a bigger question. So if Martin Luther King had a dream that the valleys were exalted and, this quality of life. And so this was a dream for him. And the deeper thinking is where I went is just what do we do with the dream now? Or do we want to live it out loud is where I am with it, right? And so I'm no longer wanting to just have the dream, or I want to live the dream out loud. And so one of Martin Luther King quotes, and I got some cool stuff for us, so y'all know that I like to take us into a historical concept, also about things because I learned so much. Yeah, that I've never heard that one. So I'm going to read it again. So one of Martin Luther King's most quoted lines is, "Injustice anywhere is the threat to justice everywhere." But so what transformed my perspective wasn't just a quote. It was what requires us to do something different. And then not just in the spaces that we're comfortable in, because injustice doesn't only live in headlines, it lives in the boardrooms, right? It was said that Christianity was formed at a table with a bunch of people deciding what was going to be in this book that the world will call the Bible. Yeah, it lives in the boardrooms. And so there are people still currently making decisions that affect your everyday life, that affect your quality of life. I say it like this because I am the lived experience, and this is why I am now encouraging us to live out loud. Live out loud in your community, in your household, on your job. Prime example, right? If a chapter that is a part of our current lived experience. And so King warned us about something else, half-baked solutions. Yeah, this quote really changed the thing for me. And then we're going to get into some facts about Martin Luther King, right? I got some cool facts about him. So the quote that really just did a thing, because let me just read the quote first. So, rarely do we find men who willingly engage in hard, solid thinking. There is an almost universal quest for easy answers and half-baked solutions. That is a quote from Martin Luther King. Y'all just tell me in the comments, right? If you feel like that quote, opposed to just "I had a dream" in your hallways while you were going to school, in your books, in all the parades, would that just made you see life differently, opposed to just telling you about having a dream or helping you form this dream, when our dreams are controlled by narratives of systematic marginalizing biases and all these other things, right? And so Martin Luther King said, rarely are we going to find this. And so this is what Beyond the Story podcast is, because this is to engage us, to think deeply. There was another one who had a quote, and I don't know who it was. Let me know too if you know who it is. But someone says something along the lines of, went out my head. Someone says something on the lines to, it'll come back to me. Either way it go, let's get into some of the cool facts that I learned about Martin Luther King, and then we'll get back to what's happening, right? So, did you know that Martin Luther King was not born Martin Luther King? Yeah, and he's a junior, so that means he was named after his father. So that means that his father name was Martin Luther as well. And so Martin Luther King was not born as Martin Luther King. I learned this today. So King was born as Michael. His father changed their name after a key figure of the Protestant Reformation of the 16th century theologian Martin Luther. Yeah, so his father came up with that he wanted to reflect something that he felt like was about reformation. And so King wasn't wrong for asking us to have the dream, because it has to start as a thought, right? It has to start as a thought. Everything starts as a thought in your head. And so just quick moment while I thank you, right? The SMC way, because this is soulful, mindful continuum on helping us use the don't key in every area of our lives. The don't is disrupt outdated narratives today. When we can disrupt things that we believe and we thought and we felt about ourselves, because we now see that that was a story that was told to you. And when you go deeper into the story, once you allow yourself to think and just to see for what it truly is, history can never be untold, right? It's gonna always be there. And so another historical fact about Martin Luther, who once was Michael. King had made 30 trips to jail. Yeah, that was interesting for me. Martin Luther King spent 30 trips to the jailhouse. And so in his 8-day stay at Birmingham, this was 1963, when in some of his writings, it was quoted that he said, "What else is there to do when you are alone for days in the dull mortuary of a narrow jail cell, other than," these are the three things he said, right? "Other than write long letters, think strange thoughts, and pray long prayers." Those are the things that Martin Luther King said that what else was there to do when you were in jail? And so Martin Luther had real experience, right? And so I wouldn't have thought that he spent 30 years in jail. And so it instantly helped again alter the narrative that the way to justice won't come without you not blurring the line, but adding color to the canvas. That's it. King had to add color to the canvas, and he had to show that he was willing to do the thing that he was asking people to do, and show how it could be done, because the core of what all his missions and who he was, it was love. And greater is these, right? And it's love. And so that was the core of all King stuff that he came to offer. And so just to share I want to keep another one of Martin Luther King quotes with us before we continue on. So one of his quotes was, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Yeah, I felt that one, right? I felt that one. And then another one, this one was like scripture, right? I felt like this could have been in the Bible if there was a right. So if you were gonna put things in there, then really why not put things that really help me to love me like God loves me, to the spirit that is within me, that is all that was created, from all that will ever be. And so, yet we were given a storyline of something different. And so it's self hate and this prejudice and this bias and this lawness walks our earth, because that emotion or feeling can't be without a human or a person allowing it to operate to be our lived reality. And so this is a quote, and I liked this quote, right? It made me smile because in my book, Finding Sierra, I talk about that I found a grounding place in audacity. Like audacity, the word audacity, when I saw it, it was like, ooh, I need to know what that is. And so I grounded myself there, and then there I cultivated the ground and did the 6 self-planting seeds. But nevertheless, so the word audacity was my word. And so Dr. Martin Luther King quote was, "I have the audacity to believe that the peoples everywhere can have 3 meals a day for their bodies, education and culture for their minds." We need education and culture for our minds, he says. "And dignity, equality, and freedom for our spirits." We need dignity. This thing goes deep, right? And so this is why we have the don't keep. Because if you don't change the narrative, then you'll continue to live one that is not true to who God, first and foremost, and really lastly, has created you to be. And so King warned us about something else, right? This is what we're talking about. We're talking about the living out loud, because the warning was already given. The alarm was already sound. And like King and many others who came to say a message to us that for some reason, I don't know, we've forgotten or we've intentionally ignored. That half-baked solutions are going to exist. Just like in this life, you're going to have trials and tribulations. There is an option to choose here. Individuals, people, superlative beings, you have an option to choose the red pill or the blue pill. So half-baked solutions was actually going to exist. Solutions that feel good but don't go deep. Actions without thoughts. Reactions without responsibility. There's a line I came across years ago that says, so what does it say? It says, the good things come to those that wait. Yeah, that was this line, right? And then one day I was reading something else, and it says, for those who feel like good things come to those that wait, that you are probably still waiting. And oh, that thing hurt, right? That uncomfortableness hurt, because I felt at that moment that I could be honest with myself to say that I have been waiting on moments and things. And see, this is the thing. I wasn't waiting on the moment like I didn't want to do anything. But the way I'm set up in my heart is that, okay, so picture it like this, right? So if you're standing inside of the grocery store line and someone else is standing there, and you decide to let the person in front of you, let the person go in front of you, you say, hey, you could go in front of me. And so you're doing the work, you're doing the whole thing, you're going through the inner transformation, and it don't feel good. And so this is the thing, like you're literally putting the work in to be a better version of yourself. And then your heart, that the soul deep part of you, when you see the person right there, you let them go in front of you. And yet you're feeling stuck and stagnant And you're not really understanding because you're doing the work, but because you haven't disrupt the narrative that you were worthy and deserving. And so, not that you now step up and stop just letting people go in front of you. Yeah, can you see that? Can that when I was able to put a visual to that, that for those who feel like good things come to those that wait, they are probably still waiting that thing stung, right? And so this is it, right? Because once you think deeply, you can't unsee injustice. Yeah, I'm telling you, you can't unsee injustice. And this is the thing that like did a thing for me. I've evolved throughout life several times. Like I've done the whole butterfly in a cocoon and come out like right before people's eyes. I've died and come to life again in front of people, and they didn't even know any idea. And I've done the one big on the inner self work, right? So anyways, but when I realized that a narrative that I didn't even see or know that was controlling my actions without my okay, right? Without my consent, that it had me believing things about me that I didn't even believe in. So this is what created that state of undeservingness and always letting people go in front of me, right? And so I forfeited a lot of games. And this is why we are talking about Martin Luther King, and not just on this day that it's a day that our world slows down to acknowledge what this person has done. And so we get to choose to make a conscious decision to let not what he did be in vain and live out loud, right? And so the dream out loud was my call to action. Not just to believe in injustice, but to practice it, right? I mean, not just to believe, in justice, but to practice it at work, at home, in my community. And for those of you who don't know, like this is one of the deep, I'm going to talk all about it at someday, one day. But why I left my local children's hospital after 18 years, I at work had to now feel autonomous. I at work needed to feel like it was really adding value to my quality of life. And so just being a present help for other people wasn't no longer the soul satisfying. It wasn't the direct nutrition that I needed. And so I'll explain it like this. I wanted to be at a different intersection of being able to support and help people. See, I know that I'm a soul provider. I know that I'm a giver. I'm a lover. I am here to do that. And so, I just lost my train of thought. And so I love to do that. But there was a need of understanding that I needed it differently, right? Once I was allowed to really think and to see and to focus and not just believe in justice, but to practice it. And first starting with myself, of disrupting those narratives and the things that I lied to myself about, right? And so living the dream isn't loud because it's aggressive. It's loud because silence has been convenient for far too long. And so I will ask you to think deeply, right? This was life changing for me, just to see the parts that I played in the discomfort of life. Life is a way, right? Scripture says that in this life you're gonna have trials and tribulations. But I definitely help life, help the devil, help the enemy, however category you need to put it in, when I wasn't appreciating me, loving on me, and being and practicing what I preach. Okay, there it go right there, right? When I wasn't practicing the justice that I demand from everyone else, and I wasn't practicing the justice, the love, the care from within so that it flows without. Because again, let me remind us, right? Injustice doesn't only live in headlines. It lives in boardrooms, in the break rooms, in our family beliefs, In politics, we ignore because they don't touch us directly. And this is what King meant by half-baked solutions. We were going to fall for being in spaces, allowing our magic and our energy and using our brain to do something other than to just love on humanity. That's a half-baked solution. And so I want to encourage you in this podcast to live beyond the story. Use the don't key to disrupt your outdated narratives. And then to allow your soul and your mind to find your genuine, continual flow so that you can continue to have heart-centered solutions. If injustice anywhere threatens justice everywhere, then thinking deeply isn't optional, it's the work. And dreaming out loud means we stop outsourcing justice to history and start applying it in real time. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Beyond the Story Heart Talk podcast. And I'm getting the schedule together. I'll be able to add the calendar post so you're able to see the future episodes and what's coming up, who is going to be coming in and beating with us and sharing with us ways and solutions and the work to live beyond the story so your hearts can beat freely and find your heart song. Yeah, y'all keep smiling, keep shining. A better you equals a better me.